All right. We are live. Welcome, everybody. Okay, let me make sure people are rolling in. Okay, yes. That's what I always have to make sure, that we're not just having a presentation amongst us three and no one else is experiencing this.
Fine. I would be happy with that.
It's cool. But just want to welcome. Sorry we were running like 30 seconds late because we were playing with like backgrounds on Zoom filters, different things that we can do. There's so many options. But just want to welcome everybody here today. Really quick. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Michael here in just a couple minutes. But before I do that, your Travefy team here with you today is me. I am Stephanie Grice. It's good to meet you. I'm a senior education manager here at Travefy. And typically you see me on these Travefy Academy webinars if you've joined us before. But then we also have Bonnie. So Bonnie, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello. I am Bonnie. I'm a senior client champion over here at Travefy. So glad everyone was able to make it today. It's always kind of a fun season during the fall in between, Halloween and Christmas and holidays. So glad everyone was able to make it. I know there were a lot of people excited that came in to support this morning to watch this.
Cool.
So
Oh, that's awesome. Oh man, yeah. Isn't that cool? Exciting, Mike. I've been so excited for this webinar too. It's really cool. And yeah, and like Bonnie said, like, thanks for taking time. I know this is getting into weird timing territory. It's almost 2024, which is just so insane. It's weird. It's crazy, huh? Like what?
This whole year, right? Just flew by.
Yeah, I
It's nuts. I know. Yeah.
It went so fast, but we're so excited. And really quick, I'm just because we always are just really curious. Where's it calling in from? Just go ahead and use in the chat and tell us where you're coming in from. So Mike's in New York City. Well, you're in Brooklyn, correct?
Yeah, Brooklyn,
Yep,
New York
Brooklyn.
City, right?
The cool London. Heck yeah, Nebraska. We got Nebraska.
Wow.
London to Nebraska. Fort Lauderdale, Illinois,
South Africa. I saw that one too. I saw a Brooklyn, New York one there.
Oh,
somebody else here is in Brooklyn. I saw that really quickly.
You could have. They could have just came into your room and just watched live.
That would have been yes. Yes. Although
Ireland.
with New York City real estate, I would have to charge a lot to share some of that square footage.
That is very true.
Hey, raised in Queens. Awesome. Right next door. Long Island. Cool.
From Morocco. Okay, we've got the whole world map here today.
We've really did. Raised in Brooklyn, New York. Wow, we have a few Brooklyners. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that is awesome. Oh man.
So for those out of Brooklyn, I am in Gravesend, if any of that was next to you guys, which is like borderline Sheepshead Bay. But I think I spent 10 years in Sheepshead Bay and like these last 13 or so now here in Gravesend, but like right there. So if that's anywhere near you guys, Virginia. Nice.
You can do a meetup. Yeah, there's a lot of Brooklyn
meetup.
Do a local travel fight. There's Diker Heights, Brooklyn. Nice. I will be visiting you guys soon to check out the lights. Hoping more people put them up this year. But excited for that one.
That's really cool. Oh, but New Jersey, not too far. So that's nice.
Yes. Yes. My mom actually just became a New Jerseyan. That's the word. But yes, a few years back, she bought right before everything went completely haywire and crazy here. So she's over there now.
Oh, nice. That's all. Well, we have an office in New Jersey. So we always are like, oh yeah, nice. Jersey. The Jersey. I was just fist bump Jersey. this what was it, Seaside or like the Jersey Shore? There it is.
Oh, that
Yep, Jersey Shore.
Yeah. She's on the way to Jersey Shore. She's in Manalapan, nice. I think. Yeah, Manalapan.
That's awesome.
That's her thing. To be fair, it's phenomenal. Love Jersey. I would love to go there. It's just I would have to still commute to my marketing company office here every single day, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it would just be like it'd be a lot. Yeah, it would just be a lot. But this is super cool. Everyone's from everywhere. That is so great.
Hi,
I do want to know. Oh yeah, well, there's Lori. Okay, so well, now I'm getting ahead. There's two things I want to say, then I'm going to come back and say something about Lori, because she is kind of the reason why this is happening, which is really exciting. She said, "Oh my God, yes," because it's a reason. So basically, well, two things that I'll note really quick, that we are recording this because somebody asked that. They said they had colleagues who wanted to come. So yes, we definitely are recording this. It will be available. So even if you have to like hop off or you get a client call, or you want to send this to colleagues, which I bet you will after this, definitely we will have the recording up and available at academy.travefy.com. Also, go ahead and use that chat in there. I'm going to keep it turned on so that way we can keep this kind of like an open communication, because I'm getting excited to see what people say and what ideas people have and like how they do upselling, all that kind of stuff. But then there is that Q&A panel, and you can also use that if you have questions. Like for Bonnie and I, we're going to be in there in the back directly. And then also if you have questions for Michael, put those in there too, because we'll have time at the end for Q&A. And so we'll throw all those questions at Michael at the end. So feel free, put those all in here. If you do have questions, maybe try to use a Q&A panel. And then if it's the chat, then that's just like you're just bantering amongst people. That might be easier for Bonnie and I to handle, but whatever works, we'll be watching both in there. So we'll make sure we keep an eye on things. And now, okay, so now this is where I wanted to talk about Lori Gold, who's in here. So, okay, so first of all, Lori Gold introduced me to Michael a couple months ago. We tried to get him in sales workshop, and it was just too soon. So when I was talking to him and we were talking about like upsells, and I was like, oh my gosh, we need to have you on a webinar. So I'm so excited for this, because the passion that you have when you talk about this is just so amazing. And I really think this is going to be a really incredible webinar. So I know you're going to introduce yourself as well, but just to give you a quick introduction, and then I'll let you take over here. This is Michael Boguslavsky, so you can say it, the last word, the really cool last word. But this is what I was struggling with, but he's owner of Caballeros
Vacations.
Caballero. I don't know why, everybody. I am struggling. I can get the Russian, but I can't get the like Spanish. It's just one of those days, you know. And again, I'm so excited. So thank you so much again, Michael, for spending time. I know you're super, super busy, and to take the time to share all of this with us today is going to be incredible. So with that, I'm just going to let you take it away.
Awesome. So yeah, super excited. I'm going to set up this share thing over here.
There we go. I
should
see
get
it.
us going into there. Now, fair bit of warning. One, by all means, this is the entire first slideshow I have made in my life, outside of having to do this decades ago for school at some point. So that's what it's going to be. My wife did the majority of the slides that will actually look decent. And then I threw pictures together here for the little part where I'm going to talk about myself. So that's what that is. Also, your chat, I will not be able to see, just because I have to click next on this keyboard and know when to do that. And also look at my own notes, because there's a ton that I want to touch base on in this webinar. So that's what's going to happen there. But we have our awesome Travefy team. They will run that chat, and then we will have hopefully plenty of time at the end to run through and get to whatever questions and ideas and things that you guys have. So with that, what's up? Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Boguslavsky. I own Caballeros Vacations, which entirely is made up of the fact that Disney's first thing, which we focus on, was a film that was made a long time ago and debuted in Mexico City, which was called The Three Caballeros, which is where Caballeros came from. And the fact that we focus very heavily on Mexico, and the film debuted in Mexico City, gave us the name of Caballeros Vacations. Now, those are really the areas that I am focused and mostly obsessed on: Disney World, most and all things Disney, and the Riviera Maya, which is probably clear in these random photos that we have there, with me and my wife, and then friends that we've made on trips along the years. I also own Media Explode, which is a New York City-based marketing agency. We help businesses establish and grow their online and their offline presence. We run various advertising and marketing campaigns. We develop branding schemes. We make custom promotional products, tons of other things. We do websites, we do commercials. And then in a completely other life, many years ago, I also helped to recruit and manage sales teams across various financial industries like merchant processing and cash advances. And I promise you, somehow, all of this comes together, or at least it's supposed to, because that is what I have told myself, and that's where we are. So today's webinar is focused on unlocking hidden revenue through upselling, which is a word that I'd like to get rid of in most of our vocabulary, because frankly, I think that it should just be called providing a better experience. I think that upselling can sound scary sometimes. It forces extra pressure on you, right? Sales, woohoo. And then this can feel like a really uncomfortable concept. And that's something that I really want to fix with this webinar. One of the things that we'll be covering, which you may have guessed from that intro, is words, or more specifically, word tracks, plus overall mind state. And along the way, we'll touch base on different examples that have just happened from my own sales experience. But there is so much more to upselling that we're going to have time for today. And hopefully this webinar will just help you elevate your business and your future interactions with new and existing clients. Something also that's worth noting is the majority of my examples will be specific to Mexico and to Disney, because that's just what we focus on 99% of the time. But you can use all of the same exact word tracks, concepts, and ideas for really almost anything that you're selling, whether it's luxury, whether it's cruises, whether, it's not Mexico, but it's Dominican, Jamaica, or anything along those lines, St. Lucia, private places, whatever. By all means, it can adapt to that. If you do have any questions regarding specific scenarios or how to approach an upsell with your own clients, by all means, make note of them. I actually think that the Travefy team put together an awesome little worksheet that has places that you can do all of the little questions that you can have along the way. And then we also have little tips and examples all the way at the end. That maybe if we can share with everybody, but you guys can feel free to make use of that, jot down your questions and your things, and then at the end we'll run a Q&A session. You can shoot all of that at me and we'll try to answer as many of all of that as we could.
That's awesome. And yeah,
so
we definitely will
get that shared, but that would be cool.
Yeah, we'll share that right now in there. So it's coming.
Reasons you aren't upselling, to kick things off. One of the first things that I want to touch base on is the reason that you may not be upselling right now, or you might not think that you are upselling right now. Granted, this is going to vary agent by agent, but most commonly, agents don't feel comfortable with an upsell because of one of the following 3 reasons that are behind me that I'm unfortunately blocking, but we'll share a link to all of these slides later. 1, they feel scared to present it to the client in worry of losing the sale and thus the commission. 2, they think that the client can't afford it or it doesn't fit in the budget that the client provided. 3, they lack the necessary product knowledge to successfully push that upsell. Want to talk a little bit about each one of these things because they sound really small and simple, but they're actually pretty big. First, being scared to lose a client. This is probably one of the biggest hurdles and misconceptions that I see agents of all experience levels make. It's one of the most common problems that salespeople have in general, especially when you're starting off and you want all the sales. If you believe that a potential client will not book with you because you correctly suggested an upsell for their vacation, chances are that that was never going to be your client in the first place. And I know that especially as a beginner or a smaller agent, this sounds absolutely ridiculous because you literally want every single one of the sales. You want all the money, you want all the sales. But please believe everyone who's ever posted this in a travel agent group that I'm 1000% sure that you've seen, you don't actually want all the sales. Some clients are there for the price and only the price. That is also the type of client that I like to call a one-hit wonder. It's a client that booked with you, got an attractive price, made the booking, but the next time around, they're just going to go back and get price quotes somewhere else where they're looking and shopping for that cheap price. Whereas the client that you promoted an upsell to, that really elevated the overall experience of their vacation, that client is going to remember that and come back to book with you time and time again. And when their friends ask them about that amazing vacation that they shared pictures of on Facebook and on Instagram while they went and they had it, they're going to confidently recommend you as the person that wasn't just there to take their money, that did not act like an order taker, that came to the table with actual knowledge and experience to make sure that they had an amazing vacation. They're going to remember that. They're going to happily pitch you. They're going to happily mention you, and they're going to happily promote that. And that's really the client that you're looking to do. Selling travel is a long game of building relationships. And just like in your day-to-day life, you have to choose who to build those relationships with. Not everyone is going to be your client, and finding your audience and your client is what it's all about. And frankly, that entire concept can and is an entirely different lesson that exists by another great travel agent out there called Marcy. That's called Propose to Close, that I'm sure somebody will mention a link to in the comments, but it covers entirely how to just find the people that you should be actually selling to, that should be your target audience. The thing with that and who you choose to build your relationships with and how you talk to the people that you build these relationships with is that when you start to talk to people more like you're seeing if they're a good fit for working with you, you'll notice that more people will start to trust you more automatically, which makes an upsell much easier to do. If you value your own time, others will notice that your time is valuable. So I'm gonna hop on over here. So the second thing to touch base on really is clients can't afford it, and thinking that something isn't within their budget or within their reach or within their range. You really have no idea what the client can and can't afford. Regardless of what they told you, sure, there's people that exist that have done all the research themselves. They've looked online, they've narrowed it down to the absolute bare bottom best price that they were able to find, and then they came to you to bother you for an even cheaper price. But the majority of people are giving you a vacation price that they remember their uncle paid back in 2015 when he went to La Romana for $1,000 with a family of 4 because the kids stayed for free. It's not realistic now. And all you really know, and all that you really can know, is that they came to you for help planning a great vacation, and that's what you're here to do. Most people will never give you their real price. Some may give you an entirely unrealistic one. Some may give you a price that's really $1,000 less than they're ready to pay because they've added some extra padding for themselves. By the way, when you play this webinar back at any given point, read extra padding as extra revenue for you. And if you think something is expensive, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's expensive to someone else. So please just stop this entire thought process of thinking that that great vacation that you know your client deserves is potentially outside of what they would like to pay. Because we're not sure yet on what they'd like to pay, and they may be more than happy to pay that. But if you feel uncomfortable to it, you'll never let them know, and you'll never find that out. Comfort brings us into knowledge. Sometimes being able to comfortably upsell requires more knowledge. Sales becomes easier the more that you know about your product, and that's as true for selling travel as it is for anything else. I understand that you can't visit every resort, but research is absolutely crucial. There is a vast amount of resources out there for travel agents. If you're with a host agency, they probably have a ton of training resources and materials and webinars that are recorded that you can watch. By all means, go through all of them. Take your niche, whatever that niche may be, and just own it entirely, however you can. If you want to sell Disney and you can go to Disney a bunch of times and become a Disney expert that way, do it. But also do all of the online trainings that are available to everyone. I understand Disney specifically is a little bit out of date on their online trainings, but do all of them. Watch all the recordings. Utilize social media, groups like Lori Gold's Resorts of the Riviera Maya. There's Resorts of Jamaica. There's Resorts of the Dominican Republic. There are groups for St. Lucia, for luxury travel. There's groups for cruises. There is an immense amount of resources and updated information that's out there. The travel industry is insanely supportive of each other, more so probably than any sales position should be. There is just so much available for you to really own your niche. And when you take all of those courses and you go through all of that information and you gather all of that knowledge, as you speak to people, you will naturally start to make more educated decisions on their behalf. You will start to tell them what's a better way for them to structure their vacation, what's a better thing for them to do, what is better resorts for them to visit, based on the fact that you've read all this information and you've gathered all of this knowledge, plus any firsthand experience that you were able to get. You will naturally start to tell clients how things should be, and these upsells are going to naturally come up in conversation. When you know exactly why those upsells are a better choice for your client, they're going to feel that when you tell them, and they will naturally trust you more. And as they trust you more, that means that they're more likely to buy whatever it is that you are pitching. So, why upsell? The hurdles are essentially out of the way. Hopefully we covered them. Most of them are really just about mind state and how you think about an upsell, and having the knowledge to back up behind that. But now, why should we be upselling? Some positive things. Chances are, if I didn't have this slide up behind me that listed everything out, and I just asked the question and put it out there for what everybody thinks the biggest reason to generate and make upsells is, mostly everybody is going to say money, because we all want more money, we all want a higher commission, and most people instinctively connect an upsell to more money for the salesperson. Big misconception. We make that, clients make the same exact one. Most people we all do, think an upsell is there to make you, the travel agent, more money. But it plays directly into what our clients think as well. People are instinctively programmed to assume that a salesperson is acting in that salesperson's best interest versus theirs. They always assume that an upsell is there to make the salesperson, which is us, right, the travel agent, more money. But the real benefit in an upsell is actually, at the end, us making more commission, but it's all the benefit of our client. Because what our clients end up getting is they get a better overall experience. They get a much better vacation. They look better to their friends when they post pictures about this trip. They get an actually good deal on an actually good vacation. And in the end, this helps us have a longer and happier and better lasting relationship with our clients, which, yes, makes us more money, but they get a lot of other benefits up front. We get some more money later on down the road. So my scenario example for this is, if you know that based on your professional experience, a client is going to have a significantly better time on their vacation, having, for example, private transfers booked and paying the extra $100 because it's going to eliminate hours wasted on their arrival and their departure days. And if you know a client is going to have a significantly better vacation by paying an extra $500, $750, $1,000 to have their family stay in the resort that has access to water slides, a lazy river, a wave pool, versus staying at the neighboring property to save a little bit of money, but then not having that access and potentially paying for the daily fee for every one of the kids to be able to go to the park whenever they would like to and use the water slides. And if you know that they're traveling with their elderly dad and the resort cancellation fee is going to end up being more than just buying cancel for any reason travel insurance, it's really all your duty to suggest and express that to your client in a respectful and professional way. And I promise you, if you express that in a way that shows that you're focusing on the overall outcome of their vacation and the positive experience that these things are going to generate for them and how it's going to elevate their overall experience on this trip, even though it might push their budget a little bit, none of them will really think that you're making the suggestions because you'd like to make more commission, because you're pitching a resort that's going to sell, that's going to pay you more, that you're really just there to sell them. They're going to feel like you're giving them suggestions because you would like them to truly have the best possible experience and the best possible vacation. And now they don't feel like what you're presenting to them is an upsell. And now you're not really pitching it like an upsell because you're coming from a background of having knowledge and information to back up what you're saying. And now it feels a little bit more natural. This brings us slightly onto word tracks, which I think are very important in sales. Words matter. And what you say at the very start of your conversation can have a pretty big impact on how easy an upsell can be at the end of that conversation. Saying things during our overall conversation like, I'm sure we'll want to set up private transfers so you don't waste an extra hour on a shared transfer at the beginning of your trip. Or I'll definitely check on a preferred room category here for you because you'll be able to access an adults-only breakfast so you guys can get a little break away from the kids. These little things and hints that we can say throughout our conversation with the clients that internally make the client go, yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I definitely want that. That sounds really cool. Oh, we get access to this. Oh, wow, that pool. Wow, infinity pool rooftop. That sounds really cool. Definitely want that. This starts the upsell process before we've even started actually selling to the customer. We are already listing different ideas and different things that sound great that most people are going to agree to, and listing how this is going to be the best vacation they're ever going to have with all of these different options and things that we can put together and do for them. And as we go through this with them and they mentally start to agree, they start to trust us more because we aren't acting just as a note taker. We're not just calling them up and saying, hi, you'd like to spend this much on these dates? Okay, cool. We're listening to them and we're trying to give them the best vacation truly possible. Which brings me a little bit to, we'll get to budget. He's the elephant. That's a really cute elephant on that picture, by the way. My wife found him. So I'm very happy with that elephant. But this brings me a bit to the thing hiding behind me, which is why I wanted to go to the next slide because you can't see it. But it's negativity, because negativity can be a pretty positive sales tool. And we should not be scared to be negative. This was actually influenced by a conversation that I recently had with another travel agent that watched a completely different upselling webinar that Lori hosted that I was on the panel for. Which gave her the comfort to step a little bit away and tell people that, like, no, what you're wrong when you were considering that, and this is the more better and just the more correct approach. And it's generated upsells for her and higher sales. And that was very exciting to me. So I added this little bit to it because word tracks can go both ways. When we discuss things with our clients, really, we shouldn't be scared to use negative phrases. Like, we can surely consider a downgrade in resort or room category. You want the customer to agree with you, and sometimes that means agreeing with a negative. I very often use the word downgrade because it sticks in someone's mind. And even if we get off the phone and we didn't go with the more elevated option for their vacation, I promise the client is going to remember that they chose to downgrade their vacation. And then it's on us when we revisit with the client to once again pitch whatever our upsell or our upgrade really was, whether that was the private transfer, whether that was staying a couple of extra days, whether that was the better resort room, whatever that is. Now it's on us to pitch that and present it once again. And they're going to remember that for the last few days or weeks, they sat there thinking how they downgraded their overall experience for their vacation. And screw it, why not just splurge a little bit and have a better experience? Bit more on words, I also want to mention that you should avoid phrases like "this is a more expensive option." Don't connect things to prices when you're talking about them being better. Connect it to experiences. Use terms like "this is a more elevated experience." "This is a more premium property." You're going to get this exclusive dining experience by booking into this category. Don't connect things to being more expensive necessarily, or that this is the cheaper option. This is the one that does not have these experiences. This is the one that will give you this experiences. Connected to what they're going to feel and what they're going to get, and it makes the overall sale a little bit easier for the customer. Word tracks and how you lead your conversations with a client are crucial to how easy an upsell is to generate, and using the right vocabulary and the right words at the right times when expressing a more premium or elevated option to our clients helps them follow your lead in the conversation versus getting stuck with, "whoa, expensive," which now brings us to the really cute elephant in the room. Oh, it's here in my thing. There. That my wife found when she made this slide. So props to her on that one. But controlling the conversation, which lets you properly control the budget conversation, which is obviously a very important part of all of this. So if you remember in the beginning, I mentioned a big hurdle, which is thinking that the client can't afford the upsell. Now, if I could figure out how to insert the reel from Wolf of Wall Street about the fact that nobody knows what the numbers really are, I would. Because not a single one of us here knows how much a random person is actually willing to spend on their vacation. And the reality is that most clients don't know how much they should spend on their vacation. They saw some TikTok reels featuring a beautiful resort. Somebody said 500 a week. They did a quick Expedia search. They found a resort in Mexico that says 5 stars because everything in Mexico says 5 stars. And it was $900 a week and it was all inclusive. Or they remember when they went to Disney World 10 years ago and it cost $500 for the whole family. And now here we are. Now, I don't mean that you shouldn't feel out your clients to understand a budget idea that works for them, but you should not be doing this by directly asking them for it. Qualify your client and tell them, based on your experience, you're looking at this much money for a decent vacation like the one that you would like and deserve to have. Do not let the client dictate what a strict budget should be immediately, because most commonly those budgets just are not set by reality. They're set by false advertising. So let's say we're having this conversation with Bob. We go, "Bob, I know that you saw XYZ on Expedia. Let me just point out that that does not include private transfers at all. That doesn't even include shared transfers. That isn't a refundable rate. You can't call a real live agent or somebody like me to deal with this and ask questions. And Expedia was never going to call you and let you know that this doesn't include transfers. They were going to just wait for you to show up in a foreign country, have no way to get to your resort, then have you call a call center where some random person is going to pick up and tell you that you should have known that you needed transfers in the first place. Then they're going to upsell you on transfers, and then you're going to go and wait for the transfers that you've now finally bought after dealing with all of that." They're going to list everything as a 5-star resort because everything in Mexico advertises itself as a 5-star resort, and this really isn't the property I would suggest. Look, everything in Mexico lists itself as 5 stars, but that doesn't actually make it so. I know that this is you and your wife's honeymoon. I really want to make sure it's absolutely magical. I'm sure you do as well. Client is subconsciously agreeing with us because obviously he would like that to be the case. So I don't want you stranded somewhere with no transport and in less than amazing property. Client is obviously agreeing with us mentally because who wants to be stranded somewhere? And obviously he wants to be in a great, phenomenal property because everybody would like a 5-star resort for not a 5-star price. So Bob, if you don't mind, hear me out for a minute. I'm all for a good deal, but there's no such thing as a good deal on a bad vacation. let's chat a little bit. Let me get to know what exactly you guys would like for this vacation. I can give you a more realistic suggestion. Or here's what I think based on our discussion, Bob. Can we set a $10,000 budget for this trip? I know it's a bit higher than you initially planned, but I just want you to see how much more you are going to get. Maybe list some of the experiences and some things you have in mind here. And I really think that Sarah, his wife, is going to love what I come up with, and you guys will be able to set some beautiful core memories, leaving things off on just positives, positives, and positives. This kind of lets us into my ending here, which is examples that I have a bunch of that we also have at the end of this worksheet there, and that I'm sure you guys will be able to shoot back at us and ask us questions and ideas and share different examples from your own sales journeys with clients that I'm sure everybody has. But Bob, from our previous conversation, is going to either agree with us up above, or Bob is going to stop us and give us some sort of initial hard budget. Regardless of what happens, Bob is going to open up with us a little bit. He's going to internally drop that wall, and he's going to build a little bit of trust with us, either by agreeing to listen to the rest of our pitch and presentation and what ideas we're going to come back and propose to him, or by the fact that he's now agreed to the budget that we said, hey, you probably should have based on the conversation that we had with him. Or he's going to come back and give us a hard budget that then we can choose and decide if that is realistic and we can work on that, or that isn't. Sometimes budget clients turn into really good customers later on. Sometimes they have great referrals. Sometimes they don't. That part really is on you and how you want to align your internal rules to see if whether the budget that is now strict and hard from Bob that he came back to you with is something that you want to work further on. But let's say that Bob agrees. We're able to have a conversation with Bob, learn a little bit more about Bob, learn the fact that he likes to golf, learn the fact a little bit about their honeymoon, when they got married and so forth, really get to know our customer and start building that rapport and establishing that relationship. And now we can put together some options for Bob, and we come back to Bob. We go, Bob, thank you for taking the time to go over my email with me. I just think that it's easier and quicker if I run down it and give you a quick pro-con breakdown, see what works best for you. Quick sales tip, when you send an email, just schedule a call. Schedule a call 5-10 minutes after you send that email. There's just really, you don't need to give that estimated wait time. You don't need to be like, hey, can we talk about this email I sent you today, tomorrow? No, you sent that email. We're ready to move on. Let's get this vacation booked. Bob, let's set up a call. Thanks for taking the time. Here are 3 resorts I picked for you. Option 1 is going to be right on the money. Option 2 is going to be right in the money, maybe a little bit cheaper, but it's going to be right there. Option 3 is going to be our upsell, or in my case, usually, option 3 is the upsell. We're going to review with him option 1 and 2. We're going to list out all the pros, how these resorts are a significant step up in service and food quality and overall dining experiences and offerings versus what they initially saw, because that will all, in fact, be true. And then we're going to hold a little something unique back. We're going to find the one thing that really makes option 3 pop. The elevated room option in it, the fact that it has access maybe to, some included parks, the fact that it has maybe some included additional experiences, whatever it is that it may be, that's something that options 1 and 2 just in no way possibly have. Now, Bob, option 3. I know it's past the budget that we agreed upon, but I saw this deal, whether it is or not, it's a deal. And I just had to show it to you. It pushes us up about $1,000 past the budget, but you get the golf course access right next door, plus access to the Marriott business lounges at the airport. You get your very own rooftop with a plunge pool. You get tons of space, private customizable minibar. Sarah can lay up there and tan, literally watch you play golf. Downstairs, take a swim in the plunge pool, plus that airport lounge access gets you free access to an open bar, food, really comfortable place to wait for your flight. And all of this usually prices much higher. So when I saw this, I had to show it to you. Doesn't matter if her price is higher, but we had to show it to him. If you want to go with option 3, it's just a $500 deposit, and then final payment is due on December 31st. Now there is free cancellation until blah, 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 blah. I want to review that a little bit because there's a few things that quickly happened in that. First, Bob has already initially bought our upsell. When we first spoke with Bob, Bob had an idea of something he saw on Expedia, or a wrong budget or a wrong price or whatever that case was. We've expressed how this is not the best solution that Bob should be looking at, and Bob has agreed with us. Whether he's agreed to hear us out now, whether he agreed to the initial budget that we sent, Bob has agreed with us, and that was really our first upsell, which was to move Bob from whatever budget weird idea he had into a more correct and appropriate budget category. So he's mentally committed to a more correct budget that we've proposed. Now, because of that, the next upsell to option 3 isn't as difficult to mentally justify for Bob. And we just listed out some really nice inclusions when we went over option 3 with him that options 1 and 2 just didn't have. Options 1 and 2 are really good, but wow, option 3, that's just another $1,000. And look at all these amazing things that we've listed. And if Bob has another $1,000, Bob is likely to go for it. If he doesn't, options 1 and 2 are great. But now, hey, next year, Bob, we're going for option 3 because look at all these amazing things and you have a year to get ready for that. And Bob is probably going to agree with you, which also now means Bob has agreed to be a repeat customer and the fact that Bob is going to upsell himself on his next vacation. Meanwhile, Bob, you're going to absolutely love options 1 and 2. Something that I mentioned here in the slide that I wanted to touch base on is that at the end, we didn't ask Bob to choose. We covered the pros of options 1 and 2 and why they're so great and amazing, is going to have a phenomenal time. And then we really dug into option 3 and all of the amazing things that includes that you don't get in options 1 and 2 and just why it's even better. And then we just went into what the deposit is for number 3, because that's a much smaller number than the actual total. And we mentally want the person to not get stuck on the larger total number. And then we just get into when final payment is due, which is many months away, which further de-escalates the entire situation because it puts distance between the payments. Behind the scenes, here's what generally, and not for everybody, but here's what generally happens in somebody's mind as you go through this. You're looking at options 1, 2, and 3. They're looking like, that's really nice. Option 1, that looks really good. Wow, option 2 looks great too. Man, I don't know how I'm going to pick between these two. Those are 2 really nice options. Wow, option 3's got all that. That's amazing. Oof. That's more than I was gonna. Well, it does have that. I guess it has this. It's only $500 now. And then I have 8 months before I actually have to pay for that. I mean, it's only an extra $1,000. I guess that's not really that bad. We de-escalate the stress factor of a large number of the more expensive price, even though we're not going to say the word more expensive, but we de-escalate and we remove a lot of that stress and we make everything smaller. And we focus on the small number that is the deposit. We focus on the fact that final payment is 8 months out. If we're doing cancel for any reason, insurance and so forth, we focus on the fact that, listen, no matter what, it's covered, it's this. And it works out and it makes Bob feel more calm and at ease. And if Bob truly could afford that, Bob's hopping on that sale because it's like, why not? I have 8 months to pay for it. It's just $500 now. And then it's just a little bit more. And I spread it out over these months. And that's okay. As an alternative ending, if Bob also wasn't on his honeymoon, in the specific example that I wrongly used, we could ask Bob if he has any family or friends he thinks might want to join in. Like, Bob, I do see a few more rooms available here. Do you want to maybe make it a group trip? You guys can all golf together. Phenomenal, beautiful golf course. I am using Atelier in this example just because it's a recent sale. But, you can all golf on the golf course. It's a phenomenal time. Have some great rooms. And just see if we can get some additional referrals and some upsells right there, really, because he'll do a lot of the upselling for us when he goes and mentions this awesome trip to his friends that we can then help them all book. You can do the same thing as all of these examples on many scales here. And frankly, you can use this presentation to help you upsell anything across many industries. Now, for upselling examples, there are a lot of ways that we can obviously upsell clients. The basics we all probably know, which is a more premium property, an elevated room category, private transfers versus shared, direct flights versus nonstop, not Frontier Airlines and Spirit Airlines versus something else. But there's obviously so much more that you can do. You can upsell your client through cultural experiences, through adventure tours. You can use seasonal promotionals to your advantage to generate an upsell while providing a unique experience. So, for example, if you have Disney clients that are planning a trip on dates near but not on a party event, you can go like, Sarah, I know that we're looking at coming back on the 25th, but what if we extend that out by just one more night so we could check out Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party? It would really be the tree topper to this Christmas vacation, and you get exclusive access to the parks for 4+ hours with limited attendance and with short wait times, blah, 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 blah. And we could sell them an extra night or two at the resort, and we could sell them special event tickets. this also works really, really well when you're doing things like Day of the Dead events across Riviera Maya, where you have companies like Living Dreams that does a unique Day of the Dead tour and a cooking class. A bunch of resorts do unique specific programs. So you can upgrade your bookings to include these experiences, extend dates to cover when those experiences are going to happen, because Day of the Dead is not on the 31st in Mexico. So there's a lot of that you can do. If clients are coming for a 3 to 5 day trip, upsell them by explaining to them the benefit in extending their stay for an extra day or two. Explain how their initial day is going to be spent primarily on transferring and settling into the resort. Most resorts have a check-in time that is at 3 p.m. Rooms aren't guaranteed to be ready before 3 p.m. You may potentially spend a big part of that day, having your luggage here, maybe changing into a bathing suit, not really being settled into a room, waiting for the room to be ready, getting that room to be ready, moving your stuff into the room, getting actually settled into your room, and then your vacation truly starts. Part of that day is gone. Your last day you're going to spend arriving 3 hours early to the airport, and you don't have lounge access because you aren't staying in an Inspire room category, or whatever the case is. So there's a lot of different ways that we can present what the negatives are to those decisions to them and explain to them how it would be a more positive and overall premium and better experience for them to go a different direction. Things like excursions, travel protection, private transfer upgrades, VIP airport experiences, and a bunch of other experiences can be sold pretty late into the booking process, right? Some you can sell well past the travel date. Like they can already be there and you could be booking them tickets to the Xcaret parks or a private excursion or tour or anything like that, or they'd want to do the VIP airport lounge access on their departure. We can make things like that happen well past the fact that the trip has already taken off or they've taken off on that flight. Travefy actually offers a ton of wonderful tools that can help you with that, because you can automate a ton of different tasks. Because, I mean, listen, it's really complicated to remember every single thing. We have a ton of trips coming up. There's a ton of different things to do for every single trip. And remembering to reach out and ask them for the third time about making sure that they do, or expressing that they should do private transfers versus the shared ones that they're going to do, and explaining how that's going to stop at 3 to 4 resorts on the way and so forth. You can automate that reminder for yourself, because I'm sure that after the second time that you mentioned to them, you probably forgot about it, but their trip is right around the corner, and there's no reason we shouldn't set a reminder or a task and activity that's automated in Travefy that makes sure that we ask for that upsell every single time that we're in a scenario, or we even have that trip coming up. Even if it's something that just goes off on every single trip that you have, whether they already have private transfers booked, you don't also think that just because the client is booked and that the sales process is done. Constantly sell something, because if you sell them something when they are back from their vacation. There's no reason why when we tell them a happy birthday or a happy anniversary or whatever it is that we've learned about them, that we can't also mention, hey, by the way, I saw this phenomenal deal for this thing. I know we look going on an even better sale. There's this happening at it. It's got this specific event. That thing is awesome. More about automations in Travefy checkout. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Yes, tons of different awesome things and automations that frankly we all should be set up. So also don't forget to upgrade your client after their vacation is done, because they've just had an awesome vacation planned by you, and that means that their next vacation can be even better, and they're now a little bit more comfortable on making it better. And that's really what that is. So that's kind of it. That was the pitch and the webinar. That's my thank you slide. So thank you everybody for joining. We will open this up for what time we have left that everybody's on here to ask whatever questions and ideas you guys have. Please remember that there is so much more to sales than anything that we could have covered, and that this was a very broad general overview of all of this. There's just a ton of info that could be given out. There's a lot more to touch base on. Hopefully we'll knock out more webinars for you guys. If you have any questions, please shoot them, ask them. You're all welcome to connect with me if you'd like on social medias, and ask me things. And that's all I got. So I hope that was good. Now I'll go to chat. I guess that is good.
Yes, I
so
told
thank
you
all so
everybody.
much.
This is
that
yes.
definitely that's very warming.
Yes, no,
to read all
I
these wonderful things. Had any
yeah, I've
remote
been
desire to go to Disney, but I would buy anything from Mike. Ellie, that's
Yeah.
I will I can sell you Disney so well about how amazing it is and the Disney bubble that it creates. And especially as an adult, when you go there and you can truly forget what the outside world is and just walk into this Disney bubble and be like, oh my God, here's this Americana, and here's them saluting the flag, and here's us doing a thing for our veterans, and here's people that are actually happy and are just like, hi, and this, and it's so nice. And when they give you food and they come to your table and just everybody loves you being there and it's so nice. And I'm so happy that I'm going back to Disney in 2 weeks. I've now
Ready.
sold it to myself. I would go book it again, but I'm already.
You're so good that you sold it to yourself.
Yeah. So
okay, so I have
questions. I don't actually see anything, but I'm so thankful for all of your guys saying thank you. That means a ton.
Oh yeah, so
there's no such thing
some
as a good deal and a bad vacation, 100%.
Oh.
Account management, career, and advertising. Snap by right. So my media export company, we do advertising campaigns, and such. So, and sales is sales, right? So that's what that is.
Sales. Oh, can you hear me really quick? I have a couple questions.
That's my two big things, right? I focus essentially on Disney sales, and then the Riviera Maya. Disney because I actually love Disney, and it's a horrible commission payout, and it's not great, but it's Michael, Steph is talking to you.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Hello.
Oh,
Hello?
I can't hear her.
Oh no. Thanks.
Not me, Mike.
Can you hear Bonnie? Oh
That's,
yeah. Let's see.
Cool.
Thanks, Ken. I know I was like chatting Bonnie. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
I can see you and such, but I for some reason cannot.
Oh, okay. We'll wait for him to.
All right. Well, I hear that.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. That's so funny. Yeah. I was like, oh wait, I don't know if you can hear. Well, okay. I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
Okay. So, yes, no, this is so incredible. Seriously, love all this. A couple questions though. One, this is a really good one. Beth asked, are there any good or useful questions to include in a post-trip survey, like conversations? Because you mentioned, to keep like it going, like, are there certain questions you like to ask that keep it going?
No, 1,000%. So first off, I always ask in every single one of my follow-ups, always ask them as a follow-up, like, hey, what's the next thing that we're planning? Let's just put that out there because, and if you haven't expressed it to them, you can express it now as a thing and say, hey, look, travel is booking up super quick. Demand is already very high. We've been booking 2024 for the majority of 2023. We're on to 2025. I want to make sure that if there's any good deals and any amazing things that are coming up and happening, I want to make sure that we have you covered. So what's your next few travel plans that you're looking to do? Which is very convenient for me because I love this with my customers. I have customers that will tell me, hey, we have these are for this year. A lot of them follow like the DOE schedules for school and stuff. They'll be like, this is the weeks that we have off. We'd love to be somewhere with our family on these weeks. I know that these are sales waiting for me, right? Like I can just go back and be like, hey, so for this February break that you guys have in New York City, here's where you guys are going. But just ask that because you'll be surprised for most customers. They'll appreciate that because it's easier for them to just be like, hi, listen, here's my vacation weeks. If there's great deals and things that you'd like to sell me for these vacation weeks, which is really what they're saying, please let me know. So things like that, obviously ask for, the simple things like ask for the reviews and such, ask to make sure, hey, do you have any friends that are potentially going on a vacation? I want to make sure that everybody has an amazing experience when they come to visit Disney or they come to Mexico or whatever, as you guys did. And definitely if they're your friends, please let them know. I'll take care of them. I'll hook them up, blah, blah, blah. If you have a referral program, good time to mention that. But I mean, really those two things. The big one is just honest to God, ask them what their next travel is.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. That's awesome. And one other thing too here is, so this was more towards the beginning, but this is a question that I see a lot is Jennifer asked, when you are in the quoting process, so do you feel it's beneficial to quote a trip with all of the must-have components the client has provided like the advisor with, just to show them the true cost of the trip rather than trying to limit what you quote to fit into the budget? So basically when you're quoting, like, what all do you put in it?
Right. No, yeah. Listen,
Mhm.
include every single thing. Include what's going to give them the absolute best, amazing, that like this is the vacation that when you came and dreamed about this vacation and told me what your dream is, this is what that dream is. This is what that's going to cost you. When you put it that way and then you downgrade them from that and you start to take away things, this is where we should not be scared of being negative, because yes, no, this is the dream that you painted to me. And okay, so this, you don't want to pay that for this dream. We have to compromise. We have to downgrade. We have to do these negative things. I'm not paying for it. You're paying for it. So you're forcing me to do this. Not my fault. You're forcing me to do these negative things, Mr. Customer. I'm so sorry. But now we have to do this. But they're going to think about that and be like, do I really want to do that to my vacation? That was a phenomenal experience that they expressed to me, that they painted. That there's this. I trust them. They seem to know what they're doing. Do I want to do that? So yes, by all means, list all of those things and then start taking it away from them and make them feel like you're taking it away from them, because it's just, listen, that's going to stick in their mind.
Mhm. No, it's so true, yeah. The one thing I wanted to quickly share too here. So we put that PDF in here, but I'm gonna share my screen super fast. So we created this simple little workflow thing. So basically, kind of like everything that Mike was talking about, this can help you jot down ideas. So like we just gave the example of like exactly what Mike shared with the resort, sharing 3 options. So if you're doing resorts, always doing that. But what I really love down at the bottom, all the other ideas, because Mike is full of so many ideas that I was like, Mike, I'm gonna make a worksheet so we can get all of this stuff out there. Because there's just so many different things. But I don't know if you have anything to add to these, but this is helpful because it really does work with any type of travel you're selling. There is many options for opportunities for you for selling. So that's
Sorry,
what that.
I'm answering some of these. Where is the worksheet?
Oh, yes. Here, I'll send this. I'm going to put this in the link. Okay, worksheet link. There we go. You'll also find it once after this webinar. We'll put it on academy.travefy.com. And then we will also have oh yeah, and then you can find Mike on a social media in there as well. But yes, you can see those in there as well. I think there's another question here, but I lost it in the chat. Let me see here. Yeah, no, so much love on this as well. Ellie said, I have never had a desire to go to Disney, but I would buy anything from Mike. See, you did it. It's amazing.
I am ready to book your Disney vacation.
Yes, just contact him.
Look at that.
So I have a fun little question. Like, for a real story, what is one of your favorite upsell stories that you've personally done?
So I guess for a favorite one, which would be, I guess, the more unique one, is, so I have these clients that they do a VIP style trip to Disney World every single year. Joe has 4 kids, um, 4 kids that he has to pay for to go to Disney. The 5th one is still not 3, so it's free for Disney. And he has a madhouse, because every single time I call him, there's just children yelling in the background, and it's nuts all the time over there. But he loves this idea, and every time that I ask him, I'm like, if you had a choice, would you do it differently? He's like, I would have more kids. I'm like, okay, God bless you, Joe. Anyway, he takes all of these guys to Disney every single year, which is phenomenal. And it's a fairly big group, because they bring also his wife's sister goes with them, because she helps out with the kids and such. So it's a fairly decent group, and they really wanted to go for Christmas. And I expressed hardcore. This was before the pandemic. This is before the pandemic. So for those of you that have been going to Disney and that sell Disney, what's happening currently is not busy Disney. Like, it might seem busy. Pre-pandemic Disney was busy. Christmas time, pre-pandemic at Disney, you physically could not walk in parts of it. Like, it was just impossible. Like, if you wanted to go between Peter Pan and It's a Small World, that wasn't happening. You were in like a 30-minute traffic jam to just pass through there. It was nuts. That was busy Disney. And I expressed to them what it's going to be. I said what it is. I take this trip with them every single year, because they pay a very hefty fee for me to be there and help be hands-on with it, and so forth. So we did it, and it was nuts. I said that it was going to be that way. That's what happened. We were able to very luckily rescue that trip, because, again, I expressed what it was going to be. I said, this is what it is. Joe said, listen, I believe you, but let's just see. Let's just see. So we ended up booking for Joe. This is again pre-pandemic, so Disney was still selling group VIP tours that they had that were like themed tours. If you guys remember, I forget what they're called, but I have the badges from them somewhere because I did it with him. But anyway, they were group VIP tours, so it's much cheaper than buying the private VIP tour. So we got for Joe they were there for the week. We booked every single group VIP tour that Disney had available, one per day, for 4 days. That knocked out all of them. Then we booked the Christmas party, the Holiday Delights tour, that also gave them private access to things for day 5. And for day 6, because Joe just absolutely was not standing in any lines, Joe booked the last available, massively overpriced VIP private tour for that day. This is to date still the trip that Joe talks to all of his friends about. This is the trip of their lifetime. They had a blast. We're always in love with Christmas time at Disney, and frankly, so am I. But this is just the pinnacle of vacations that they've ever taken to Disney, which I understand because they spent an absolute fortune on doing every single one of these private tours. It was all booked last second. My BDM was phenomenal that worked with us to get this done because we're literally the week of Christmas calling in. And I'm like, listen, please help. I know that a bunch of things are sold out. We have to make this happen. They're very good clients. I mean, and she was phenomenal. She went above and beyond, helped us get things done. So yeah, that was probably it was a very beautiful payout for me from all of those different things. I know we don't get phenomenal commissions out of that. Even when we book the group tours, we didn't get phenomenal commission out of those, but it was nice because again, lots of people. It's a party of 9 when you add everybody in. It was great. That would probably be, I think, my favorite. But the biggest thing of that really was just the fact that I said this is what it's going to be. They didn't believe me, and then they're like, "Yep, I will now pay anything to not experience this."
Which goes to mention like what you were saying earlier is like the keeping it going, because it's like, yeah, you can do that route this trip, but you're going to experience what I'm explaining to you that it's going to be. So it's the next one. So maybe it's not this exact trip, but it's the next one that they take. That's like the real big upsell. So that's awesome.
Could be. That also, by the way, is things like, so I think we touched on this when we had that experts webinar with Lori, but a lot of resorts are these chain groups that are actually made for you to upsell as you run clients through them, right? So Iberistar, you start clients at the very cheap, low level, which is still a great experience, and it's still that Iberistar experience, but you start them at like, Beach and Del Mar, and then they see this peak of Maya and Lindo, and you tell them, obviously, hey, if we were booked at Maya and Lindo, you'd have access to the wave pool, the lazy river, all of this, their bigger main pool, the snake lounge, whatever. But you would explain that all to them. They would see this if they didn't go for that upsell. They would see it when they're there. And next time, inevitably, they're going to want a little bit of that. You can just automatically move them into that property. And when you propose the next vacation to them, say, hey, I want you to now stay here. I want you to now experience Lindo and see the next level at Iberistar. And when they experience that, and then they want something more, you say, listen, I now want you to experience Grand. There's a lot of properties that are literally set up for you to be able to run clients through this upsell over the lifetime that you have this customer, and start them at this property. And then listen, they're doing better. They got to raise, they got to whatever. Now we're at this property, and now we're at this property, and now we're at their top of the line adults property. And now we can start it somewhere else. Iberistar, Barcelo, Bahia, Grand Palladium with their TRS things. There's a lot that you can make that run with your customers. We should do all of that.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's so nice. That makes it easy. Everyone's in the game together. Everyone's trying to make best travel experience possible, make it work with the agent. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. That's awesome. And well, it looks like I can't believe we're already at time. This has went so fast because it's been so much fun.
I'm
So
glad.
Yes, this is so great. And again, everybody, I know I was so excited for this, and I know that this you might want to pass along to other colleagues. We've already seen people saying they want to. So it's gonna go just academy.travefy.com, and you can watch the recording like in like 10-15 minutes. It just takes Zoom a little bit of time to render, but that's it. And then you'll be able to watch it right away. So definitely share that on, keep coming back to it if you need, especially as we enter the new year, get your sales workflow intact. And also those tasks that Mike mentioned, the tasks and automations within Travefy. If you ever have questions on how to set that up, let us know, let our team know. But we did not pay Mike to say that, I promise. But you really can. You can set up a whole list, so then that way you never miss a beat on upselling opportunities. So if there's any questions on that, like, let us know in there as well. And I know you're replying back to a question there, so I'll let you finish typing that on that. But the other thing too is make sure download, or you can get that worksheet on academy.travefy.com as well. And then join our Facebook group also. So in our Facebook group, if you go to just search it's the Travefy official group, go in there and let us know in there, if you joined us today, what are some ideas that you're going to take, or what are you already doing? What have you found a lot of success in? And start a conversation there, because it's a really cool topic and just a really, really exciting. So I'm glad that we could have you here, Michael, with us here today. And thank you so much again. Really seriously appreciate it.
No, listen, it was a blast. Thank you for having me. It was a ton of fun. Literally the first webinar that I've had to put together. So
And you did amazing. I would have never known.
Awesome. I'm glad that this went well for everybody. Yeah, that's all I got. I do hope that we can put more of these together, because I mean, people seem to love it, and I'd love to do more of this for everybody, and then everybody can just make more money.
Yeah. Hey, nothing wrong with that, right?
Right? That's the
We'll
way.
be in touch. Yeah, this isn't the last time. We'll chat. We'll get Mike and get his expertise out on so many things. So thank you so much again.
Awesome.
And thanks everyone for joining us. And we'll see you again soon. But in the meantime, we'll go to the Facebook group and keep the conversation going there.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Cool. See ya.
Bye-bye.